What's going on? Welcome to another live edition of Real Fans Real Talk. We got a whole lot to get into this week. I've been receiving y'all DMs. I seen y'all been tagging myself and Eric in posts on Facebook. We gonna get into all of that. Okay, we gonna get into all that Lakers talk today. But we do got a whole bunch of other sports news going on. Canelo got another big victory added to his belt. Some stuff going on in WNBA. The rookie class has been representing thus far in the preseason. And of course the NBA playoffs is going down. But before we get into all of that, let me introduce my co-host, my brother, the number one Knicks fan on social media, Eric Sanchez, aka Legend in Two Games. What's going on, man?
What's really good, bro? You already know, man. An exciting time. I'm always excited for sports, no matter what time of year it is. But we had a great fight last night. We're in the thick of things with the NBA playoffs, Major League Baseball going down. Like you said, WNBA is set to tip off very soon. And the NFL, now that they're coming off their draft, we started to see some free agency movement as well. So much to get into. Super excited to get back to it with you and answer all the supporters' questions, because I know they've been tagging us on some things at Facebook. They got some things they want us to address, Trip, specifically you. But
yeah,
as your brother, I'm going to stand right next to you. We're going to answer these questions.
I appreciate you, man. Shout out to Kyrie Thompson. I see you first in the chat. I'm gonna get to your question on Caleb a little bit later on in the program. But we're gonna start with the NBA. We're not even, you know what? Nah, bump that. I'm gonna take my time because the last couple of weeks when y'all was trying to shut us down, y'all didn't want us talking about the Lakers and LeBron, and we upheld. So we're gonna start with game 7 in the Eastern Conference that just went down earlier today. The Young Gunners went at it, most certainly. Big shout out to Paolo Banchero, Blue Devils right there. That's a Duke University alum. Great game, great series. He did all he could, but ultimately Cleveland was just too much. Donovan Mitchell, I mean, what can you not say about this man, Donovan Mitchell? At the 50 piece the night before in the loss, then came right back, did not let that phase him, and balled out again to win a game 7 against a very tough young Orlando Magic team that I think will be back. I think they do need to add a couple of pieces to help Paolo out. But I like what I saw from them as well. But talk to me about Donovan Mitchell and this Cleveland Cavs team and how far they can go.
Donovan Mitchell did what a star player is supposed to do. He took over that game when things were looking shaky for them. And for Cleveland going into this game, I really thought this was a do or die situation. I know most game 7s are already labeled such, but Cleveland went all in before last season to make a move for Donovan Mitchell to go with their young guys. They get bumped in 5 games by the Knicks last year in a series that they really were dominated in from start to finish by the Knicks. And then if they would have lost to this Orlando team that was very raw, very inexperienced, I think that the rumblings would have got much louder, because we've already heard rumblings that Donovan Mitchell will probably request a trade this offseason as he goes into the final year of that contract. I think Bickerstaff, their coach, would have been fired, and I think they would have had to make a decision on their big man lineup, because it really wasn't working when they had the 2 big men. But with Jared Allen missing some time now, it has worked better with only Evan Mobley in the lineup. So they would have had to make some really tough decisions if they lose to an Orlando team that was in their first playoff experience. And then to lose at home, and they were getting blown out in that game, Trip. So if they would have lost in ugly fashion like that, they definitely blow this thing up. Donovan Mitchell did everything in his power to make sure that did not happen. For Donovan Mitchell as well, personally, it's a great moment. This is his first time out of the first round, I think, since 2019. So he was kind of overdue as well for one of these type of moments where he kind of put the team on his back and advanced in the playoffs. So for them, it was everything they needed it to be and more. Donovan Mitchell proved again why he is one of the stars of the league.
Absolutely, and they did it without having their all-star big man Jared Allen for the last 3 games of the series. So you got to tip your hat to Cleveland and what they're able to accomplish. They move on now to face the first place, best record in basketball, Boston Celtics. How do they measure up to this year's Boston Celtics team?
It's a very tough matchup for them because Cleveland's offense is very bland. It's a lot of Donovan Mitchell ISO. It's a lot of Garland trying to run the high pick and roll with the big man. It's not much creativity. Now, if they can get the type of game they got from Max Strus today, who was knocking down threes, maybe it gives them a chance. because I just think Boston has more talent and it just overall has the better team. But with no Porzingis, this is an opportunity for Mobley to have a big series right now because Boston is playing small. Al Horford obviously is an older guy. He ain't gonna really be able to hang with Evan Mobley for 35 minutes a night. So without Porzingis, this is an opportunity for Mobley to kind of dominate, and maybe Cleveland can win the battle on the boards and in the paint and do some things there. But on the other side of things, Boston just has so many good defenders they can throw at you, whether it's Drew Holiday, whether it's Brown, whether it's Tatum, whether it's Derek White at times. They can throw a lot of different defenders at Donovan Mitchell to try to slow him down. So, like I said, for the Cavs to really make this an interesting series, Garland's going to have to play better, and I think their shooters all around are going to have to play better. They're going to need more from Karis LeVert. They're going to need more from Max Strus. They're going to need the other guys to step up because I think Boston is going to try to suffocate Donovan Mitchell and not allow him to have the games that we saw today.
Yeah, and when you have Jaylen Brown, who is one of the better defenders in the league, who's also probably about 6 inches taller than Donovan Mitchell. You can throw him out there just to kind of mix things up and make things more difficult for Donovan Mitchell. I don't think you're gonna stop him, but to make it more difficult, can Cleveland depend on the rest of those guys to step up and make shots if Donovan Mitchell is being bothered? On a game by game basis. I think that's where the question is going to lie. Can we get 19, 20 points from Evan Mobley? Is Jared Allen going to be healthy enough to start the series off? Which Darius Garland are we going to get? So there's a lot of questions with this Cleveland Cavaliers roster. I know there's a question down there at picking the series. From right now, if I'm just picking, I gotta pick Boston. I think they're the better team from top to bottom. Um, and as great as Donovan Mitchell's playing, I would say I still believe Jason Tatum is the best player in the series. Then I'd probably go Donovan Mitchell, but then after that, I'd go Jaylen Brown. Probably go Porzingis after that. A couple other guys on the Boston side of things. I'm taking Boston in this series. To be honest with you, I don't know if this series goes past 5 games.
I agree. I was going to say happy Cinco de Mayo and in celebration of the Cinco, I was going to say Celtics in Cinco because I don't see the Cavs doing enough offensively outside of Donovan Mitchell to impact this series. And as you mentioned, those other guys, there isn't a track record of those guys having sustained success. Max Strus had a good series last year against Boston when he was in Miami, but that's a completely different scenario. That Miami team was proven and they knew what it was going to take to win. This Cavs team, I don't see that yet. As I mentioned, last year they were dominated by the Knicks in that 5-game series. And you're facing a Boston team that for most of the year, if they weren't the best team, they were the second best team all year. So I don't see them going into Boston and out muscling the Celtics. I don't see them developing some sort of toughness that we haven't seen from them in 2 years anyway. The only way they could really win the series is if they take a page out of what Miami did in game 2 of the first round, where they just shoot the lights out of the building and hit 20-plus threes. And that isn't really their blueprint either. So I give them credit to win one. I think Donovan Mitchell is good enough to get you 1 game in the series. Other than that, it gets very, very tricky. I think they're lucky if they get 2 games in the series. If they push it to 6 games, to me, that's the most you could ask for. I think Celtics in 5. Celtics have far more talent, as you mentioned. If you went top to bottom, best players in the series, 4 out of the top 5 players are all on the Boston side, I think. Yeah. So I would go. And then Derek White has looked so good in the first round of these playoffs that Jason Tatum hasn't even had to play like an MVP for them to win, because Derek White has thrown up 2 30-point games in the first round of the playoffs. So they're a much deeper team, more talent top to bottom. Celtics in 5.
Must be the cut for Derek White. Baldy might be helping him out.
Might be. It's more aerodynamic now.
Exactly. All right, let's get to it. Let's go to the West Coast. Let's talk about the LA Lakers. I know you've all been waiting. You wanted to hear if I was going to come over here and go crazy. All right, we're going to do it. We're talking about it now. I'm going to start with Justin Frizzione's comments. Last time the show was on, the Lakers were down 0-1. So back to the Lakers Nuggets series. Lakers led most of the series in terms of time leading, but lost 4-1, which is crazy. Laker fans happy they hung. LOL. I mean, I'm happy they didn't get swept. Of course, that's first and foremost. But again, I mean, Denver is the better team. Denver is they are the defending NBA champions. Okay, I mean, they didn't go up against some scrubs and get ran out the gym. They went up against the and I got to say they're the best team in basketball because they're the defending champions. Until somebody takes them off of that spot, they are the defending champions. So you lose to the best team in basketball in the first round, which is what we have also been saying this entire time. We said that if the Lakers do not run into Denver early, then they would have a deep run in the playoffs. That's what we said. Okay. Unfortunately, and Eric and myself, we tried to put the calls in to tell them lose again in the play-in tournament so you don't see Denver in the first round. Did we not, Eric? We had that
Absolutely.
conversation.
We
right?
had the conversation, and literally that the day the season ended that Sunday, that was the first text I sent you. The Lakers should lose the playing game and avoid the Nuggets in the first round.
Exactly. So I just want to address that. Obviously, I'm disappointed because I want LeBron to continue to get rings, but again, they ran into the team that I said is the one team where it's all right. If they any other team, if they play, I think the Lakers have a chance at winning. I said if they play Denver, that's the one team. Well, I also said I might give Sacramento a shot, as well, just because of how they've played against the Lakers. But I said if they run into Denver, they're going to have problems. So this is not like we've been saying stuff and then it's out of the blue. This thing happened like this. No, we said that Denver was the problem team for the Lakers, mostly because, and there's something else that we spoke on. When they played the last time when they played Denver and they won in the championship in the bubble, they had two athletic defensive big men that could guard Jokic. They do not have that anymore, and they are running into the same problems. And when we're going to talk about this Denver and Minnesota series later, and we're going to talk about that dynamic as well, because that is a team that has that type of a dynamic where you have those 7-foot athletic bigs that can give Jokic some problems. We saw a lot of that happen in game one, which Minnesota stole on the road. All right, but go ahead, Eric.
No, I mean, this is something we talked about all year. Shout out to Hoop Baller School because I appreciate him tagging us in the comment on Facebook. As we said, the Nuggets matchup is a terrible matchup for the Lakers. And that's not giving the Lakers an excuse. It's just the truth. Styles make fights. And in the playoffs, when you don't match up well with the team, it will get exposed in a series. You'll see that. So the fact that the Lakers don't have much interior size to match up gives them a lot of problems in the series. AD rebounds the ball well. Nobody else on the Lakers do. AD is forced to work on both ends of the court in ways that he probably wouldn't have to if he had a legitimate big next to him that could help him with Joker. That's one of the things that I think we're going to really find out in this series against the Timberwolves, if they can keep their two bigs on the floor. Because if they can consistently keep their two bigs on the floor like they did in game one, they are going to give the Nuggets a lot of problems in the series. But if the Nuggets make the adjustments that I think Mike Malone is going to make, and they're going to force Rudy Gobert off the floor, then we're going to see a different series, and we're going to see Minnesota have to play some lineups that they're not truly comfortable playing, especially in crunch time. So that's that part of it. In terms of, and shout out to Kyrie, because he said, how do we know that the Lakers were going to make a deep run? We don't. And that was, again, that's our assumption that the Lakers would have. But I pose a question to anybody who's watching, anybody in the comment section. Name me another team in the West that you would not have picked the Lakers to beat in a series. Because if they played OKC, you would have liked them. If they played Minnesota, you probably would have liked them. If they played the Clippers, if they played Dallas, you would have liked the Lakers in any of those series. It's just that it was the Nuggets. And that is a terrible matchup for them. They struggle. Again, the Nuggets have the interior size. They also have a pretty solid defender in Aaron Gordon that they could throw at LeBron and wear him down. They have reliable shooters like Michael Porter Jr. and KCP, Christian Braun coming off their bench. So they have enough weapons where they give the Lakers so much trouble that we see it every time. The Lakers can get a lead. The Lakers can hang with them for a half, maybe 3/4, but then it falls apart late in those games. So it was a terrible matchup for the Lakers overall. I don't change anything we've said all year because I think that's what we've been trying to highlight all year, that if the Lakers can avoid the Nuggets, they get a chance to make a run. And not to just bank on last season, but I'm using last season as an example. The Lakers made the Western Conference Finals, right? Who did they lose to? The Nuggets. The Lakers, the only team that the Lakers have really struggled with since the bubble, and I know that was a long time ago, Trip. I know they're going to kill you about mentioning the bubble. But since the bubble, the team in the West that's given them the most trouble is the Denver Nuggets. There's a reason why Denver beat them 11 straight games over the last 2 years. So that was a terrible matchup for the Lakers. I don't know where the Lakers go from here. I know we got a lot of Laker comments, so let's knock them down, Trip. Let's get to Darvin Ham and the firing of Darvin Ham.
Let me just adjust Hypebola Hoops comment. Trip, that was 4 years ago in the bubble. Y'all keep talking about Dwight and McGee because it is still relevant. Because
we're not talking. Well, hold on. We're not talking about Dwight and McGee. We're talking about the availability of having bigs.
Yes.
We didn't just say, oh, because they had Dwight and JaVale McGee. We're saying they had athletic bigs. That's something they don't have. They had sequences in these last 2 years in the playoffs where they've had Rui Hachimura guarding Joker,
who's undersized.
Like think about what we're talking about. You got guys who have no business being in that situation, having to play there because they just don't have the bodies.
Yeah.
They don't have the players to match up. And some of the best Laker lineups are when they go small and they spread it out with shooting. But you really can't do that against the Nuggets because, again, the Nuggets sport a front court, Aaron Gordon, who's 6'9", Michael Porter Jr., who's 6'10", Joker, who's 7 feet. And then they space the floor. So even if you try to play small ball against them, it doesn't work because that's still a style of play that they're comfortable with. So that's what we mean. We're not talking about Dwight and McGee specifically. We're saying that the actual players that fit the mold of what you need.
Which is what the Minnesota Timberwolves have.
Correct.
2 7-foot athletic big men that can give Jokic problems. When you're looking at Anthony Davis trying to guard Jokic, it kind of looks like when Deontay Wilder was fighting Tyson Fury in the ring. There's a huge difference between Jokic and Anthony Davis. See, Jokic probably has Anthony Davis by maybe 25, 30 pounds. Like you can clearly see when you're watching them head up, versus each other. So again, it's not about Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee specifically. When I'm bringing them up because I'm referencing the Lakers having 2 athletic 7-foot big men who can play defense. That was the key in that series. It's not about Dwight. It's not about JaVale specifically. Let me go to Kyrie Thompson's. No, Lakers not beating many. Yeah, now that comment is coming off of them dominating Phoenix, but going into the playoffs,
right?
There was a different mentality.
And again, think about my statement. I said going into the playoffs, we all would have still liked the Lakers' chances against everyone except Denver.
Yeah.
Whether they beat Minnesota or not, maybe they don't. Right? Minnesota's a talented team. They had a great first round. They're carrying it over into an amazing first game yesterday. But there's nobody who could tell me that you would have thought the Lakers had a chance against Minnesota, at least a better chance against Minnesota than they would have had against Denver. We all know that.
It's only Denver where we would have gone in and been like,
you ain't got much of a shot.
I don't know. I don't think that's gonna happen. That's the only team where we would have said, hands down, no, I don't see it happening if they run into those guys. Everybody else, the Lakers would have had a chance.
Absolutely.
And again, if we're basically just look what happened last year. They made it to the Western Conference Finals,
playing everyone but Denver.
Exactly. So it's not a far stretch from reality for us to say that if the Lakers don't run into Denver early, they would have a long playoff run.
At least a chance at a run. Yes.
Yeah.
I want to get to that Darvin Ham question though, because I like that one.
Okay. All right. So hold on. Let me we're gonna come back to your comment. Football school. Let me go to. I know I started up there. Okay, here we go. Ron. Shout out to Ron Charles. Football school. We're gonna get back to that comment next. Don't worry. All right. Lakers fired Darvin Ham after 2 seasons. Is he the scapegoat? Eric, you take it first, and then I'll answer.
Absolutely, he's the scapegoat because let's not forget he got the job because they fired Frank Vogel, who helped them win a championship a couple years ago. And Frank Vogel became the scapegoat. And then Darvin Ham came in. They make the run to the Western Conference Finals last year. They have a subpar season this year, and he loses the job. But not only does he lose the job, they fire the whole staff. This is the Lakers trying their last resort to appease Braun and hope to keep Braun because we know there's been a lot of speculation whether Braun will leave or not. They're trying to do everything they can to keep him happy, and he became the scapegoat, and that's what happens. Braun isn't going to become the scapegoat. We know that. Anthony Davis probably isn't going to become the scapegoat because in order for you to be competitive, you got to keep Anthony Davis. So it's going to fall on Darvin Ham. Now, was he the perfect coach? No. Was there areas that he could have been better in? Absolutely. I think we all can point to points in the series where he could have made better adjustments or done something better with their lineups. But also, this is a very flawed roster, as we've highlighted already. Their lack of interior depth. They didn't never get the shooting that they thought they would get from guys like Gabe Vincent Austin Reeves was kind of off and on throughout the season. Hachimura, to me, plays way too many minutes for them. So the roster is flawed overall. The coach gets the blame for this. He absolutely is the scapegoat, Trip.
Yeah. So here's the thing, right? I mean, not that I feel like I'm putting them the loss on individually LeBron or Anthony Davis, right? But I don't think you really could, because if both of them had great series. They both played really well this series. You know what I'm saying? It was just a tough matchup. I think the writing was already on the wall with the Denver matchup early on. So obviously, if you're not gonna put it on Braun, you're not gonna put it on AD. Where's it gonna go to? Somebody got to be the scapegoat. It's gonna be the coach. It's easier to get the coach out, and especially, I mean, it's easy. Teams get rid of coaches that have won NBA championships. They get rid of coaches coming off of coach of the year seasons. Like, the upper brass on a lot of these teams are very, what have you done for me lately? Okay. So yeah, any reason to get rid of somebody, you're not doing the job. All right, you went to the Western Conference last year, you got back to the playoffs. Unfortunately, you saw Denver in the first round, so you regressed. You're out of here. It's easy for that to happen. It happens all the time. It's not just a Lakers thing. It's not just a LeBron thing. The coach in Phoenix is out as well too, right? We know that this is what happens.
Yeah.
And not even just in the NBA. This happens in the NFL as well.
This happens in every major sport, right? If you're a high profile team with big aspirations, the coach is on borrowed time. Either you make it happen quick or we moving on.
Exactly. So
I mean, Adrian Griffin didn't even get a full season. Was he not the scapegoat?
He had a 30-13 record when he got
was he not the scapegoat?
So, and we saw how that thing fell apart. I mean, I know Giannis was out, but they still wasn't. It still wasn't enough.
Right.
But let me all right, let me go back to Hoopballer Scoop's comment now. Sanchez and Trip, a lot of fans during some of y'all other older lives remember y'all both saying despite Lakers like in the 9th or 10th, and in the plan, y'all see the Lakers were made for the playoffs and would make a deep run, help clear it up, because I don't think Lakers could beat the Thunder or the Wolves. Well, neither one of those teams have Jokic. That's first and foremost. So it's a little bit different. The matchups are going to be different in those in either one of those series. Had they played OKC or had they played Minnesota, the problem obviously with Minnesota is now we're looking at Minnesota after them sweeping Phoenix in the first round of the playoffs. But again, Phoenix was a team that we spoke about from the beginning of the season and said that it wasn't going to work out because they had no defense, 2, they had no depth, and 3, they had no floor general. So we already knew that wasn't going to work out anyway. But it looks good when you come in, you dominate, one of the greatest players of all time in Kevin Durant, generational talent like Devin Booker. I don't know what Bradley Beal was out there doing, but whatever. but the rest of those guys, what I'm saying, yeah, that looks great. But I still and if I can speak for Eric, I believe he still stands on the comments that we made. Yes, if the Lakers do not run into Denver in the first round, there is a good chance that they can go on a deep playoff run the same way they did last season.
So I'm going to clarify this because I also commented on the post. Shout out to Hoopball Scoop on that. But I said the Lakers did not care about seeding because they are a veteran team that wanted to position themselves to be healthy for the playoffs. Lakers did not care whether they were the 6th, 7th, 8th seed. It didn't matter. They wanted to be as healthy as possible, right? Let's not get it twisted. If the Lakers were the 6th seed and didn't have to play in the play-in, but Anthony Davis or LeBron James was injured, it would have meant nothing. So they'd rather go in as the 7th or 8th seed and be healthy. In terms of them making a deep playoff run, we never guaranteed they were going to make a deep playoff run. We never said, oh, well, here come the Lakers. I've always said playoffs are about matchups. And if you match up with the right teams and you find yourself on the right side of the bracket, yes, you can make a run. So the Lakers found themselves on the wrong side of the bracket because they ended up with the 7th seed against a Denver team that we all thought was going to be the number 1 seed. I'm sure the Lakers thought the same thing. They end up being the 7th seed. They could have tried to avoid it. I know there's people who don't like the idea of possibly losing on purpose, but had they avoided the Nuggets, I think the Lakers have a better shot of advancing in the playoffs if they had to play OKC in the first round and then potentially Dallas or the Clippers in the second round. as opposed to having to play the Nuggets in the first round. And then even if you find a way to beat the Nuggets, as we see now, you would have the Timberwolves still waiting for you. So we never guaranteed the Nuggets. I mean, the Lakers were going to make a deep playoff run, guys. Let's relax. Y'all keep talking about the Lakers, though. Let's not get it twisted, because I've said before that y'all want to keep mentioning the Lakers, even the times when we don't even mention the Lakers. The Lakers aren't even in the rundown, but y'all bring them up, so we address it. Could the Lakers have made a better run if they didn't have to face the Nuggets? Absolutely. Let's stop pretending. In the comment section, you guys tell me right now you don't think the Lakers would have had a chance to make a run if they would have avoided the Nuggets in the first round. This hindsight is 2020, so it's easy to be like, oh, y'all were wrong. Of course, because they had to play the Nuggets in the first round. But guess what? Ain't nobody beat the Nuggets in 2 years. So I don't think anybody's wrong in thinking that, oh, if you avoid the Nuggets, you have a chance. You have a legitimate chance. That's how it works. And realistically, it's no different on the East side.
Anybody that avoided the Nuggets can make a deep run.
Right. And I think it's kind of the same thing on the East. Teams were looking at it on the East like, hey, I want to avoid playing the Celtics. If let's stay as far away from the Celtics as possible and maybe see them later on. Nobody in the East is saying, yo, I can't wait to play the Celtics. Just like nobody in the West is saying, I can't wait to play the Nuggets.
Exactly. There you go. Pooh, what up, Pooh? So why can't Rob Pelinka get fired? This team has been poorly put together. We only talk about Lakers because they're the Lakers. Warriors and Lakers be 8th and 9th seed. We still talk about them. Shaking my head. Here's the thing, right? When you're talking about the Lakers and the Warriors and you're talking about teams that have all-time great players still playing at extremely high levels, let's not forget Golden State is, 2 years removed from winning the championship?
Yep.
They won the year before Denver won, and we had these same conversations. We're saying, well, they're a team that all they have to do is get in and they can win a championship. And what happened? They got in and they won a championship. It's simple mathematics here. Like that's what we're talking about. Yes, a team like the Lakers can, if they can avoid certain teams, yes, can get to the Western Conference Finals. That's because you're talking about all-time great talents on those teams. Guys that are winners on the highest of levels, multiple-time MVPs, multiple-time NBA championships. That's what the Lakers represent. That's what Golden State represents. That's what Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green represent. That's what LeBron represents, for the Lakers, and even AD to some extent for the Lakers, because he did get his ring in there. But those are those teams. Now, is it guaranteed? No. But there are times, but with those teams, if they can get in and they can go on a run, yeah, they seem like that can get to the finals and go and beat a tough young Boston Celtics team and add on to their legacy. Yes, it can happen.
So in regards, shout out to Poole. In regards to the first part of this, why can't Rob Pelinka get fired? I don't think the question is, can he get fired? I just think that right now he is in such good graces with the Buss family, specifically Jeanie Buss, that he has job security for two reasons. He made the trade for AD when they needed to make the trade. Let's not forget, when Magic Johnson walked away, Magic didn't want to mortgage their future to get Anthony Davis. Rob Pelinka was willing to make that trade, which eventually led to them winning the bubble championship 4 years ago. That's the first part of it. The second part of it, and we highlighted this earlier in the season, let's not overlook the fact that they have known probably all year that Bron isn't going to stick around. I ask anybody who's watched the show, go back, you can see the episode, but you can comment on it right now. When's the last time that you heard a star player release a statement during the season saying, I'm not requesting a trade, I don't want to leave anywhere? Then we hear the reports that when teams were calling the Lakers about a trade for LeBron, the Lakers weren't saying, no, he's off limits. They were saying, call LeBron and see what he wants to do. They were leaving it up to LeBron. So that means to me that Rob Pelinka knew this, Jeanie Buss knew this. That's why they didn't want to make the trade that we talked about for the last year and a half of Miles Turner and Buddy Hield to bring more talent around them. They didn't want to mortgage any more of their future because they had already done that to win the bubble championship. And that's why I think Rob Pelinka won't be fired. Eventually, he will be fired, but I don't think right now he will be, because he made the trade in the short term to get them Anthony Davis that helped them win it. And in the long term, he stood his ground and said, I'm not going to mortgage any more of the first round picks just for the sake of LeBron James. So I don't think he will be let go for that. But I do agree with you, Pooh. This team is poorly put together. This goes back to something I've a criticism that I've had about LeBron for a long time. When LeBron went to LA, he had the opportunity to allow those young guys to develop around him and really expand his championship window. Yes, they win that bubble championship 4 years ago, but look at the amount of talent they lost to do it. They let go of Lonzo Ball. I know he's been hurt, but they let go of Caruso. They let go of Brandon Ingram. They let go of Josh Hart. They let go of Kyle Kuzma. You can't tell me those four guys could not be quality players on a championship team. The Lakers mortgaged a lot to win that one championship. And a lot of that had to do with Bron's impatience. If Bron had just said, hey, let these young guys develop, we'll get the other star. We'll get that second star. But let these young guys develop and let's really build something with some young guys around us that can kind of carry us long term. The stars can win it when we get to the playoffs, but let the younger guys kind of carry us a little bit. I think the Lakers could have been a far better position than they're in right now. Some of that is Rob Pelinka's fault. Some of that is LeBron's fault because LeBron had no interest in watching the young guys develop. He spent one season with the young guys and immediately got them all shipped out. And then even after they won the championship, let's not forget, Alex Caruso was let go. Caldwell Pope was let go. We talked about the bigs that were let go. So LeBron had no interest in trying to make it work with younger talent on the team. He wanted proven stars. He got Anthony Davis. He never got that third star he wanted. And that's why they're in the situation they're in right now.
Hoopballer Scoop says, has LeBron James' Laker career been successful? Anytime you win a championship, you gotta say yes to that question. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, again, in the time that he's been on the Lakers, I mean, who else has won? Denver and Golden State won championships. So it's in fact just having one championship in itself, because there's guys that have been during that span. Think about it, right? The Clippers bought over Kawhi and Paul George that same time. They don't have no championships.
They have no finals appearances.
Oh, they didn't have finals appearances. So when you look at teams like Boston during that tenure, they haven't won a championship. They got to a final, but they haven't won. Miami been to two. They haven't won. These are the better teams in the league. Mm-hmm. So yeah,
I mean, Brooklyn went all in with their 3 stars and never got out the second round of the playoffs.
Exactly. So yeah, winning the championship, yes. One winning the championship, 2, breaking Kareem's record, in the Lakers uniform. Yeah, you got to say he's had a successful career with the Lakers. Obviously, when we're talking about LeBron James, you want multiple championships everywhere he goes. You want all of these big things because it's LeBron James. But yeah, 95% of the league would love to have LeBron's run in LA.
I mean,
with the exception of the Nuggets, obviously, because what they've been able to do. But other than that,
I think Hoopballer Scoop, when you posed this question on Facebook, you actually put a grade to it. I believe I put it as a C+. Yes, they won a championship. Yes, he kind of restored the glory of the Lakers. We're talking about in his 5 seasons there, they went to 1 finals, which they won, and they went to 1 Western Conference Finals, which they lost to Denver last year. They got the second star, but overall, like I said, the reason I put it as a C+ is because I felt like there was much more missed opportunities. AD's health played a big factor in that. Remember when they were defending champs and they were up 2-1 against Phoenix in the first round of the playoffs, and then AD gets hurt. That really ended that season. LeBron overall has missed the playoffs 2 times there in LA. And that goes back to my point of not allowing the young guys to develop. I think had he allowed some of those young guys to develop there, they would have had an opportunity to expand this window of winning in LA. So if you want a black and white answer, was it successful? Yes, because he won a championship there. And that's all the Lakers wanted. They wanted to restore glory and win a championship. But if you're talking broader perspective of the whole time he's been there, marginally successful for me, because LeBron James, for a guy who we talk about as possibly the GOAT, obviously a top 5 player of all time, you would expect more. You would expect more than just 2 playoff runs in 5 years. So to me, a C+ is the grade that I would give it. Marginally successful because they did get that championship. But overall, I think they could have done more had they been patient.
Let me go to Scoop Hoops question. Is Curry, LeBron, and KD winning titles over with? The takeover of the new dogs, Jokic, Shea, Ant-Man, Tatum, Luka. I think it's a changing of the guard right before our eyes, and it's great. I mean, I'm not going to say the window is closed, because we're still talking about 3 guys statistically this season that were top 10 in basketball. So I'm not going to say it's over, But yeah, that's obviously we're always going to see the change of the guard once these guys are past their prime. Even though they look Herculean, you know, we're talking about all-time greats, so they're going to look like that for longer than the majority of players. But yeah, that's it's bound to happen. Guys are going to get older as guys get older. We're gonna see. We're seeing what Anthony Edwards is doing before our eyes. We're seeing what Donovan Mitchell just did in Cleveland. We're seeing what Jalen Brunson has been doing, for the New York Knicks, Denver, and Jokic and Jamal Murray and those guys. That's just what it is. Guys age out. Sports is as high as your basketball IQ can be, as high as your level of intelligence, for the game can be. Physically, you are going to get older, and you are not going to be able to dominate the way even LeBron's never going to be able to dominate the way he did in Miami. He's not even going to be able to dominate the way he did in Cleveland during the second run.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that's just time. Age loses to nobody. All right. Same thing with Steph. Now, obviously, the jump shot is the last thing to go, so he can hang around a little bit longer. But we're still talking about if you're going to take in a last minute situation, you're still going to take Steph over everybody you just mentioned over there. If you need a last second three, you're going to pick Steph before you take any of these younger guys that you just mentioned. So I'm not going to say the window is closed. It's just still got a little crack left in it. They could maybe finagle some things and get back to a chip. And who knows? Maybe these guys say, you know what? Maybe we should get back together.
Right? I mean, out of the three, Curry probably has the best shot. Because I just think his style of play is going to give him probably the most longevity. He can be a spot up shooter when it's all said and done. When he loses the handle and he loses the quickness, he can still be a spot up shooter and play for any contender. LeBron, the writing is on the wall, and I think we need to be paying attention to some of the comments that have been coming from LeBron lately, as he's kind of hinted at being unsure about his future and unsure about how much longer he has. And even when he made the statement the other day, I thought it was very telling when he said, "My family's been very supportive of me, and I've been selfish in this way, and it's time for me to give back to them." That's him also realizing he's near the finish line. And I would not be surprised if Braun, maybe he won't publicly say it, but internally he may say, look, next year's it. Either I'm playing for a championship or I'm doing my farewell tour. I'm not going to do the in-between thing of pretending I'm playing for something I'm not. Either where it's complete farewell tour and we're just enjoying the ride, or I'm latching on, because I don't think it would be LA. I'm latching on to a team that has a chance to win a championship, and I'm going to try to go out as a champion. I think KD's window is closed because there aren't many options for KD. His selfish approach, not calling him selfish individually, but his approach to team building has been very selfish, and that he too has tried to shortcut it, and we're just going to latch on to guys, and we're going to link up with guys that we really like. I don't see very many options for KD. Phoenix is not going to stay together as currently constructed. KD may be the odd man out where they just flip him for some sort of assets, and there's no guarantee he will even land on a team that's contending for a championship. So I think he is out of options, and I think his window has passed. LeBron may have one more season, an opportunity to latch on with somebody else. I don't see it in LA. Curry probably has the most runway left on his career, where maybe, Golden State can figure something out or he goes somewhere else. But ultimately, that's what happens, and like you said, it's fine. It's okay. The league is in great hands. Those guys had their moments. They had a lot of great moments for the league, and they've done a lot of great things for the league, and they'll have their opportunity with Team USA to probably have their farewell tour internationally together. But that's okay. I don't think any of us should be sad about it. The changing of the guard is
I'm going to be sad when LeBron goes. I'm going to say that right now.
No, I mean, I think we all. But this is why I've never liked, even though I'm a Michael Jordan fan, I've never wanted to bash LeBron, because I feel like it's not appreciating his greatness. What we have right now is what we have to appreciate.
I've always been pretty biased. Pretty unbiased when it comes to LeBron.
Right. Like I don't want to like disregard his greatness, and then when it's over, then be the first person. Oh man, I was so happy I got to see LeBron play. It's like, you ain't feel that way when he was playing. You know what I'm saying? So, but the league is in a great space, and I think that even now what we're seeing with these teams in the second round of the playoffs, and Denver trying to hold on to their championship, but you see the young guns coming up. I think it's a beautiful thing for the league, and the league is in a great space right now.
You need that. You need to change that. Because somebody got to carry this thing going forward. as great as the shape as LeBron James might be in, he ain't got another 10 years left in
And
him.
the crazy thing is, this is the beauty in the league. If we would have had this conversation 4 years ago, right, we would have been talking about Zion and John Morant because they was the hottest thing smoking's coming out, right?
Mm-hmm.
We'd have been talking about Giannis carrying the torch, but we're not. We're talking about Joker. We're not even talking about Embiid, who was the reigning MVP of the league. We're talking about look at the young guns we're talking about. Look at the quality of play of guards that we're talking about. There's so much talent around the league. It's a beautiful thing to watch, and I think these playoffs are going to continue to highlight that as well.
And Ja, you better bounce back because Anthony Edwards done surpassed you for future face of the league. I'll tell you that right. And we're gonna get into that a little bit later. And we're gonna run through the rest of this Lakers stuff, and then we're gonna talk Anthony Edwards and his dominance.
We got to talk more Lakers.
Yeah, because that's what they want. They keep sending the comments in. Y'all never talk about this. Lakers trading for Russell Westbrook was part of the Lakers' downfall. They gave up too much. Remember, Bron and AD wanted Russ. Yeah, they wanted a couple of guys that they couldn't get, and then they may have spent a little bit more than they should have to get Russell Westbrook. But sometimes, and I think where GMs kind of go wrong is just because a player is an MVP, just because a player is an all NBA level talent, doesn't mean you can just throw a bunch of players like that together and it's going to work. That's just on 2K. Yes, you can do that. You can throw a bunch of MVPs on one team and it's going to work out every time. Or if you nice with yours, it'll work out. But in real life, that's not how things work. Just because a guy is an all NBA level talent, you can't just put him with two other guys and it's automatically going to work. And we saw that with the Lakers and Russell Westbrook. Obviously, it didn't work out. I mean, they gave up what? That was the Kuzma trade. Who else was in that trade? They gave up
Kuzma, KCP,
and
I think there was a pick involved in that.
Who was the power forward? I think who was the kid? Oh my goodness, I can't remember. But there was one of the big men. But I mean, whatever.
Nah, I mean, well, one, I kind of highlighted this earlier, Scoop, where I said LeBron's pursuit of a third star cost them an opportunity because they made this trade again. Look at the names you gave up, quality guys that were part of winning a championship, Kuzma and KCP, right? You needed spacing, you needed shooting, and you gave that up for a ball dominant guard that was never going to fit with Bron and AD. But it's something. When the trade happened, we talked about it. I didn't like the trade then. I've been solely against Bron chasing this third star. I've talked about it before, even when Dame Lillard's name was floated around going to the Lakers, and I said that's not the move the Lakers need. With Bron and AD, you need shooting around those two guys. You don't just need another superstar. When Bradley Beal's name was brought up, I said the same thing. So we've talked about it before, and I don't think that was the sole downfall. I think that was one of the many trades. Again, a lot of young talent was given up to just put these two superstars together because when you look at the impact Josh Hart is having in the playoffs, you're telling me the Lakers couldn't use a guy like Josh Hart? When you look at the defensive capabilities of Alex Caruso, you're telling me the Lakers couldn't use Alex Caruso? You're telling me they couldn't use maybe Brandon Ingram as their number 3 guy on that team? Like they couldn't use the spacing of Kuzma, who could have played the 4 next to AD and been a guy who could knock down the 3 off the pick and pop. So there's a lot of quality guys they gave away just to pair up these two superstars.
Rich Dre says, "Why don't the Lakers ever get pure shooters?" Bro, you're asking a question that I can't answer. I've wanted them to get a pure shooter for the past 4 years, so I can't answer. I don't know what to tell you on that one. I've wanted them to go after Duncan Robinson. I wanted them to go after Max Strus. I wanted them to go after Buddy Hield. I've been trying to get because that's one of the things when LeBron is most successful is because he has pure shooters around him. In Miami, he had pure shooters around him. In Cleveland, he has shooters around him. When he's most successful when he has pure shooters. The Lakers have not been able to put a pure shooter around LeBron really since he's been in LA. There hadn't been no pure shooters. He's had stars. He's had a lot of talent, but as far as just pure shooters, No, that's one of the things that they are missing because you need a guy if the double team comes that LeBron can just kick it to, and you know he's going to give you that Ray Allen that's going in or the Mike Miller. You know what I mean? Like you need those shots or Kyrie.
I mean, the Lakers can't get pure shooters because they haven't scouted well. That's really what it comes down to. You got to scout well. You got to find guys that are late picks and second round picks and some guys who are in G League. And the Lakers haven't focused on that. The Lakers have focused on star power, and that's why it hasn't really worked out for them. So that's more in their scouting department than anything.
Exactly. Let me go to Kyrie McKnight. Trip Bronze League career. Okay, how many times has he missed the playoffs? I believe 2. And how many playing games Trip just made Bronze Lakers look good? LOL. I mean, the playing thing doesn't really matter if you make it to the Western Conference Finals. I think that kind of, you know what I mean? Like that cancels itself out. Like, all right, you got into the plan, but you still made it to the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? Obviously, this year didn't work out. They ran into Denver in the first round. But if they don't run into Denver and they wind up going on a deep playoff run, then what are we talking about? That point that's a mute point.
I mean, I don't know what we're really debating with that question because, you know, to say all that, right? Like Kevin Durant has not missed the playoffs in the last 5 years, yet Kevin Durant hasn't been past the second round. Giannis has not missed the playoffs, right? Giannis hasn't even had to play in a playing game, yet Giannis has been bumped from the playoff for the first round twice. He's made the finals once. So I don't know what we're really debating with that. Like if we're gonna use that as the measuring stick of like, oh, this is why it hasn't been successful, then I think you could do that with any star player. Because again, Kevin Durant ain't been past the second round of the playoffs since he left Golden State. Aside from the one finals run for Giannis, there hasn't been many successful runs there either. Yeah, Tatum and them have had some good playoff runs, but they've only been to one NBA finals during those last 5 years as well. So
exactly. Cool. We gonna get to all the comments, and yes, we're gonna talk. Because I already knew. I said right before the show, I was talking to my cousin. I said, yeah, they definitely gonna want us to talk about Kendrick and Drake today.
Of course.
So we're gonna talk about Kendrick and Drake. Don't worry, we're gonna save that for the end of the show. We are trying to knock all of these Lakers questions. I think there might have been one more left, if I'm not mistaken, and then we can move on. Actually, that might have been it. We can move on to. All right, let me see. Where we going with this? Let's go back up to the top actually, because now I'm gonna start going through all of these comments. I mean, not this is. Let me go to Kyrie's comment right here. This is an NBA comment. With the Suns getting swept, has Kevin Durant legacy been tarnished? KD faces legacy questions after playoff failure. Does Steph Curry within the last title affect KD's legacy media wise? I don't think him being swept tarnished his legacy because you can't take away what his legacy is. He's still an MVP. He's still a multiple-time NBA champion. He's still a multiple-time finals MVP. He's still maybe the greatest scorer we've ever seen play the game of basketball. He's still a 7-foot guy that could dribble a basketball, score from anywhere basically on the basketball court. So I don't think it tarnishes his legacy. What it does do, though, is it allows guys to creep past him when we're talking about rankings on the all-time list.
I think his legacy was tarnished a little bit with the stint with the Nets because that was his opportunity to show that he could be a leader. And in his 4 seasons with the Nets, they went through 3 different head coaches. Again, they never got out of the second round. They blew up that young roster to go get not only KD, but Kyrie and Harden for it to fall apart very quickly. Harden was gone the very next year. Kyrie suspended and missed some time, and then him and Kyrie both get traded. So I think the Suns situation is just more of the same from what took place and what carried over from the Nets. I don't know where his legacy really lands because skill-wise, he is one of the most skilled and gifted players to ever play the game. Mm-hmm. But in terms of leadership, in terms of overall accomplishments, we're going to always be left wanting more because we're going to always feel like Kevin Durant, for as skilled as he was, he should have won more. He should have been in the conversation more often for MVP of the league. For, again, we've had the conversation this year about face of the league, and Kevin Durant should have been the face of the league for the last 5 years. It really was supposed to be him. And for whatever reason, it didn't play out that way. So the Sun situation, I think, is just more of the same. I don't think Steph's winning that last title affected KD's legacy. I think that just really cemented Steph, because
Yeah.
even without that last title, we knew that Steph was the greatest shooter of all time. But him having that playoff run and being that leader on a team that wasn't stacked, because it really was him. It was a couple young guys. Andrew Wiggins played well, but let's keep in mind Andrew Wiggins was the second best player on that team. So
Yeah.
to win a championship, I think solidified Steph's place amongst the greats. I don't think it had anything to do with the KD, because at that point, I think we all were looking at KD sideways anyway.
Yeah. Let me go to this next KD comment. I'm gonna let you take over, Eric. KD reportedly unhappy with role on the Suns offense. I love KD, but since he left the Warriors, he's been. I'm not even. Yeah, I'm gonna let you take this one, Eric, because
it's
you
goofy.
Come together, bro.
It's goofy behavior. It's goofy behavior by KD. This is what you wanted, and I don't understand this whole. Oh, I never felt comfortable in the offense. You guys got together of your own accord. You wanted Bradley Beal to join you guys. You had the front office make the trade for Bradley Beal. You had all off season to figure it out. You had 82 games to figure it out with Frank Vogel as the head coach, which I'm sure you guys signed off on. And yet somehow you tell me now, after you guys get swept and had a disappointing regular season because they were the 6th seed, that you never felt comfortable in the offense. I'm not buying it. I don't understand this thinking from KD and this statement from KD at all. Because again, as a leader, it was your job to feel comfortable. It was your job to make sure everyone had defined roles on this team. There should have never been a point where guys didn't know what their role was and where they were expected to be and what they were expected to do, especially to close out games. So I'm not buying that at all. This is more KD trying to put the blame on someone else as opposed to taking the blame and saying, hey, look, I signed up for this and it didn't work out. Again, another situation where he went there. They blew up the rest of the roster because they gave up DeAndre Ayton pretty much for nothing. They blew up the roster to just be a three-headed monster that didn't work out. So I don't have any sympathy for KD, and I don't understand. Again, to me, it's goofy.
To be honest with you, I thought they should have kept DeAndre Ayton.
I agree.
He would have been, because you have no type of interior presence. Kevin Durant is a 7-footer, but rebounding is one of the areas where it's like, all right, that's not his strong suit. You know what I mean? Like, he's not going to dominate on the boards for you every night. So I think they should have kept DeAndre Ayton, but it is what it is. Let me see where we at. Let me scroll back up. I know we got a couple more NBA questions up here. What did I see? Okay, here we go. You know what? Let's do it. It's time, Eric. It's that time. I know it's that time. It's that time. It's that time, Eric. Let's talk about it. We got to talk about it. We're going straight up to Ron Charles. Let's talk about the Knicks. Jalen Brunson is stamping himself as a star player. I was late to join, but he is for real. He is an effing dog. They build and be jumping. I mean, that's just New York, man. That's New York in general.
You're talking about the guy who scored 37 or more points in 4 consecutive games in a playoff game. You know, only one other guy has ever done that, Trip. I don't know if the followers and the supporters are aware of that.
They're probably not aware of that. So
in the history of the NBA, there's only 2 guys that have ever scored 37 or more points in 4 consecutive playoff games. There's Jalen Brunson,
and that guy
right there. Go. That's it. Now,
let me give you a solo shot for this one, Eric.
I remember. I'm just saying, because I remember. Shout out to Drunk. I don't see Drunk in the comment section, but I remember Drunk questioning if Jalen Brunson could be a star. And I remember saying, if he's going to win on the biggest stage, which is New York City, he can be a bona fide star in the league. And he's showing that right now. And Ron's statement kind of provides that and doubles down on that. There were a lot of people who didn't see this coming from Jalen Brunson. I'm not going to lie and say, oh, I knew this the player he was going to be. I did not think this is the player he was going to become. I thought he was a quality point guard. I wasn't ecstatic when we signed him, but I thought, hey, it is a massive upgrade over what we've had in the past at point guard. Mm-hmm. I like the pairing with him and Julius Randle. Let's see what else we can build. But now that Jalen Brunson has turned himself into a legitimate MVP candidate, granted, he's not going to win it this year, but he's an all-star. He's a legitimate MVP caliber player. I love what the Knicks are doing. I don't remember the last Knicks team. That's a lot. The last Knicks team that I liked this much was the 2000 team that was led by Allen Houston and Latrell Sprewell that made its way all the way to the finals as an 8th seed. This team has a lot of heart. It was a tough series. Kudos to Philly. Even though I walked away from the series and I can't stand Joel Embiid, but kudos to Philly because Embiid and Maxey did everything they could to try to beat us. And our boys, the Nova boys, held it down. And Thibodeau did enough coaching to hold it down. And this is why, to Pooh's statement and comment, when she talks about it, she referenced her dad. This is why people will say the NBA is better when the Knicks are good, because there is no building like Madison Square Garden. And I'm sorry, that's no disrespect to nobody else's team or nobody else's hometown. If you've never experienced a basketball game at Madison Square Garden, I ask you to do so. Even if it's a regular season game, Trip will tell you the same thing. The energy from the time you walk in that building is like nowhere else in the world. Trust me, I've seen games in a lot of different places. Madison Square Garden, the energy in that building is nothing like it. And when this team is good, I mean, you see what's going on outside. They damn near shutting down 7th Avenue after every home game now. Mm-hmm. So I don't even want to. I do want to think about what it's going to be like if we have a parade, Trip. I hope we have a parade. But it's crazy.
Let me start by saying this, because I know we're going to get into this Drake and Kendrick stuff later. But I'm going to say this right now. The scorecards is up. Chopped cheese is up 1-0 over the Philly cheesesteak. Just put it out right now. Just put it out right now. Chopped cheese is up 1-0 right now over the Philly cheesesteak. It is what it is. In regards to Ron's comments, let me say this, because I saw so many people in the media. Oh, Jalen Brunson. That's the guy y'all take all this in free agency. Y'all go get Jalen Brunson. I saw so many negative comments about the Knicks signing Jalen Brunson. And now I'm seeing so much backpedaling. The most backpedaling I think I've seen in a while in regard to Jalen Brunson and his dominance over the league. Because he been dominating everybody. It ain't just one team. No, the Knicks and Jalen Brunson, to not have Julius Randle most of this season, to not have OG, he's been in and out of the lineups, to not have Mitchell Robinson, to deal with that clown-ish that Embiid was doing during this series and trying to injure cats, which we haven't even gotten into that, but I thought that was some sucker-ish from Joel Embiid. That's why when Low Man in the video says you want to catch these hands, I felt him on that. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta give the Knicks their flowers. And again, for me, I had to text Eric this the other day. My pops being probably the biggest Knicks fan I know outside of Eric and the previous co-host that we used to have on the show. I'm up here. I'm sitting up here. I'm in the crib. I'm noticing. I'm rooting for the Knicks to win, and I couldn't. It threw me off because I'm like, hold up. I'm out here actually cheering for, get that stop, hit the three. I'm really going hard cheering for the Knicks, and I'm like, damn, you know what? I'm actually very happy for New York. Listen, LeBron is out, so I'm perfectly okay if the Knicks win a championship this year. I'll be in full support of that. I'll be down at the parade. It was my pops that first told me about Jalen Brunson. And this is that last year in Dallas when they blew the opportunity to bring him back. He said, "Oh, that kid in Dallas, he pretty good. Yeah, you need to look at him. You need to talk about him on your show." And I said, yeah, whatever. He still got to prove him. So I got to see. He got to show and prove. You know what I'm saying? I didn't just, I'm just gonna just give it up like that. He got to show and prove. And he has far exceeded any expectation I may have had for him. That might be one of the biggest steals in free agency that we've ever seen, because he's worth so much more than the contract that they paid for him. He's done so much for his organization. I'm having conversations right now, and this is only his second year with the team, about guys who are questioning, has he had a better Knicks career than Carmelo Anthony? And depending on how far this thing goes, you might be able to argue that this season, depending on how far they go. Because I told you a couple of days ago, I said, you know what, Eric, I changed my mind, and you can tell me if I'm lying. I said I think the Knicks can get to the finals.
So
I say that
you did, absolutely. We were texting back and forth. There was probably around game 2, right around game 2, game 3. I'll say this: Jalen Brunson, this is not a flash in the pan, because shout out to your dad. Your dad knew what he was talking about, and I know your dad would be ecstatic watching this team.
Yeah.
Jalen Brunson, let's not forget, his last year in Dallas, Luka gets hurt. Jalen Brunson is the one who led them to the Western Conference Finals before Luka came back. Jalen Brunson had a great playoff run last year, right? And they lose to Miami in 6 games in the second round, but it wasn't because Jalen didn't show up. He showed up. Other guys didn't show up. RJ Barrett didn't play well. Julius was off and on. So this, to me, this is the 3rd straight year that he's shown who he is in the playoffs. He is a guy who can perform in those moments, and he's not scared of those moments. And I know you can't always kind of put a correlation between that and college, but there is something to be said for a guy who won 2 national championships. Like, he is not scared of the moment. You know, however that translates, maybe it doesn't translate always in the regular season, but you can see it. You saw it the other night to close out the Sixers. When that game got close and then Philly takes the lead, then the Knicks tie the game up, and then they take the lead, and then Philly ties the game up. They come out of the timeout. Brunson hits back-to-back 3-pointers and then has that and one where he stares up at the banners. Like, he understood the moment. He understood the game is in the balance, so now it's time for me to be a star. In terms of him, his place amongst the greats, that's a tough discussion because, yes, you need a little bit more time. We can never overlook the contributions of Walt Clyde Frazier, who helped us win 2 championships, and in my opinion, is the greatest Knick of all time. Everybody talks about the Willis Reed moment when Willis Reed comes out the locker room. Willis Reed only played about 8 minutes in that game, right? It was more inspirational that he came out to play. That was a game where Clyde Frazier, I believe, had 37 points in to win the championship. Clyde was the guy, and Clyde, was probably ahead of his time in terms of style of play. Bernard King was amazing. Patrick Ewing, obviously, is my time when I love the Knicks. Unpopular opinion, and I love Carmelo Anthony. You know this, Trip. Unpopular opinion. I think Julius Randle has done more for the Knicks than Carmelo Anthony has. Because when you look at the timing of Julius Randle signing with the Knicks, it was after they lose out on Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, and everyone is laughing at the Knicks like, oh, man, y'all never going to land anybody. And we get Julius Randle. And everybody's like, look, y'all end up with Julius Randle. Nobody wants Julius Randle. And that first year, Julius Randle leads us to the playoffs. When nothing else on the team. RJ Barrett's a second-year player. Quickly, nothing else on the team. Julius Randle has an all-star season, leads us to the playoff. Yeah. And that, to me, that is the moment. Julius Randle and Tom Thibodeau is the moment where this all starts to change. And right now, it's easy, like I said, to say, oh, man, the Knicks look great right now. The Knicks don't have any lottery picks on this team. When you look at the roster, Mitchell Robinson, this is all due to scouting and coaching. Shout out to Leon Rose for what he's done and being able to identify the type of talent that they want. And shout out to Coach Tibbs for putting it all together. But since Coach Tibbs has gotten there, since Julius Randle's gotten there, they've been to playoffs 3 out of the last 4 years. And to me, it started with Julius Randle because he took on the initial leadership role when we couldn't land any big names, when we couldn't land any stars. He was the only quote unquote star we could get. And he wasn't even a star himself.
That was the closest thing to a star.
Right. He wasn't a star himself, but he took on the responsibility of being a leader for this team when we were super, super young. He's young himself. And that, to me, is what started the domino effect of you get better coaching, you identify the type of talent you want, you solidify it with a guy like Jalen Brunson. Like I said, I love Melo, but I would actually put Julius Randle, in terms of Knick career, I would put him ahead of Carmelo Anthony, just as Knick career, because for Melo, and it wasn't all his fault. When Melo came to the Knicks, we were top heavy. It was just him and Amari. We got Tyson Chandler, but if you think about Jason Kidd was super old when we got Jason Kidd. Steve Novak, Pablo Prigioni. These are the Rasheed Wallace was old already. These are the type of guys that we had on the team. This current roster with the Knicks and Melo, let's not forget, aside from 2013 when we made the second round of playoffs with Melo, there was no other playoff runs.
That's what I'm saying. So that, and let me just adjust Kyrie's comment because he said Brunson needs at least 5 years of great ball. I'm not saying he's
ahead of Melo
overall. I'm just thinking about as far as ranking what they've accomplished as a New York Knick. If the Knicks go to the Eastern Conference Finals this year, I mean,
I'm telling you, I'm telling you right now, Kyrie. Trip, there's been plenty of times we've been on set where Trip has had his moment to laugh at the Knicks for the decisions they made, There was plenty of years of that. We know that, right? There's plenty of footage when we were in studio, and I had to it is what it is. My team sucks right now. We're terrible.
More a couple of
right.
shows.
Bartender, double that one up because it's another tough night rooting for the Knicks.
Mm-hmm.
The Garden and Trip. No, you live in New York, Trip. Your father was a diehard Knicks fan. Mm-hmm. The Garden never sounded like this for Carmelo Anthony.
No,
never. I watched plenty of Carmelo Anthony games. I was there at his last game at Madison Square Garden. I still got the footage. The Garden never sounded this way for Carmelo Anthony.
It's a different feel.
Jalen Brunson, the field. The one of the things. Shout out to Will Gordon. I see you in here, Will. One of the things Will and I always talk about too when I talk about him with the Wizards and what he wants to see with the Wizards. What makes this Knicks team special? I'm not saying they're a championship team. I'm not saying they're going to win a championship. This team feels like a New York team. It feels like a gritty New York type team. When you got Josh Hart, who's 6'4", and he's damn near your leading rebounder.
That's not like Charles Barkley was about 6'4".
But I'm saying like that when you got OG Anunoby, who's doing everything on both ends of the court, and then when you see, look, if you don't believe me, the proof's in the pudding. Look at the older Knicks who are at the Garden now. The other night, Ewing, Starks, Sprewell, Johnson, Camby, like you have all these ex-Knicks who are
kind of like that energy, because
right, it's energy. It's feeling like that energy again. And again, no disrespect to Carmelo, it never felt like that with Carmelo.
Yeah, we're gonna get to the Clippers next. We still got a couple more Knicks comments.
Yeah.
I see you, but we're gonna get to that. Is in regards to the Pacers, I think it's gonna be a good series, but honestly, I think the Knicks easily beat the Indiana Pacers. I'm just being honest with you. Tyrese Halliburton, since All-Star break, he kind of was, as far as what he was doing, he was kind of on a downtick, whereas the Knicks have been going up. You would have thought this Philly series would have been different just based off of Joel Embiid being the best player on the court and Maxey, but the Knicks realistically they dominated this Philadelphia 76ers team. Like it was easy money for New York, and I think it's going to be another series like that. No disrespect to the Pacers, but I just think this Knicks team, the way they're playing right now, the way they're being coached right now, we're going to be back in the Garden for this series. No, I don't think the Pacers got a chance. I think this is going to be all about the Knicks, and they'll be in the Eastern Conference Finals.
I think the Pacers are a good young team. I'm not overlooking them at all. There were people who questioned when I said this, and when I said, what is the impact of the in-season tournament? And I think we're seeing that the Pacers are playing with a certain confidence. I know people may laugh and like, oh, it was the in-season tournament. Yeah, but those games to that young team, it meant something. And you saw that when they played the Bucks. The Bucks tried to bully them. The Bucks tried to intimidate them. The Pacers weren't going anywhere. The Pacers felt like they belonged. And so I don't think the Pacers are going to be intimidated by the moment. This series is going to come down really to style of play. The Knicks like to slow it down and play in the half court because that's when Jalen Brunson is his best. But the Pacers want to get up and down the court because the Pacers, that's when they're at their best. They got young athletes. They don't really beat you in the half court offense. They beat you by getting up and down the court and getting easy dunks and easy layups. But if you force them to play in a half court, then it gets tough because that's when guys like Nembhard and Naismith, they got to be able to knock down open shots. And I don't think they will. They got a good head coach. But to Tripp's point, when you look at the Knicks, Maxey and Embiid, I don't think there's anything more Maxey and Embiid could have done. They both averaged over 30 points in the series.
Yeah.
It isn't much more that they could have done. And yet with all that, the Knicks still should have beat them in 5 games. Right? If not for Maxey going Reggie Miller in the last 28 seconds of game 5, that series is over in 5 games. The Pacers don't have anybody like that who can dominate the game. They don't have one guy, let alone 2 guys who can dominate the game that way. So for me, I like the Knicks. I'm going to give the Pacers a little bit more respect. I think it'll be a competitive series that may go 6 games, but I think ultimately the depth on the Knicks team, they just have more guys that you can rely on in clutch moments. Whereas I look at the Pacers, and like I said, some of them guys, I don't know what to expect because I don't know what I'm getting from Obi Toppin night in, night out. I don't know what I'm getting from Nembhard, from Naismith night in, night out. And Halliburton, if you sag off Halliburton and you force him to be a scorer, that's when he struggles. He's at his best when he's playing in the open court and he can distribute. But if you force him to be a scorer and beat you scoring, he can't do it. So that's why I like the Knicks.
Yeah, I agree. How y'all think You do against Halliburton, USA player. Will Brunson have a chip for this series? I'm a little confused by that one, but I think Brunson is going to do his thing. I think he's going to do what he's been doing this whole year. I mean, what he doing Game 6? What was it, 47-10? Put some respect on that man's name. That's what he's going to be doing in this series. He might not have 47-10 every game, but he's going to do what he's been doing this whole year, proving that he is an all-star. He's a star. He's going to be a superstar in this league. He should have had that final Olympic spot over Kawhi, who damn near like certain guys shouldn't even qualify. You know what I'm saying? But whatever, he should have been that. But he's going to show in this series again what he's been doing this entire season, straight like that.
I think Brunson will be great. For me, the matchup I'm really paying attention. I don't think he'll have a chip on his shoulder, because they don't have any personal vendetta between them two.
I think it was with the coach.
With Rick Carlisle.
Yeah, with Carlisle.
Yeah, they know each other from their Dallas days. Yeah.
So
I think Brunson to do his thing. I think the matchup I'm really paying attention to is OG versus Pascal Siakam. They were teammates and they won a championship. They were teammates and they won a championship in Toronto. Pascal is without a doubt the number one option on the Pacers. OG is one of the most versatile defenders in all the league. So that'll be the matchup, because if OG is getting the best of Pascal, then like I said, then for the Pacers, it really gets tough. Yeah, because Pascal's the one guy who can score in the half court for them. And if he's struggling, then it gets really ugly for them. So that's the matchup I'm really paying attention to. And that's the one that I think OG is going to have a chip on his shoulder for. Because OG, you see it in a lot of these games. In the fourth quarter, when he wants to lock in, we just saw OG at times in the fourth quarter man up one-on-one on Embiid and slow down Embiid.
And I did see I sent you the video, the highlight when he threw it on Embiid, turned down that three and can't. But that's like
no. But look at that. Look at the end of Game 4 against Philly when Hartenstein's in foul trouble and they have no Mitchell Robinson, and OG is guarding Embiid one-on-one late in those games where Embiid couldn't even get a shot off.
I'm gonna take this next question, and then we're gonna get to the Mavericks and everything else on the rundown. Who are the top 5 Knicks ever? To me, it's Patrick Ewing, Bernard King, Walt Frazier, Melo. I think Jalen Brunson just needs years played to be in the top 5 spot. I will give you Patrick, Bernard, and Walt. I would put Earl Monroe up there as well in the 4th spot. And I will give Melo the 5th spot now. But barring injury, if things continue to go the way they've been going, I think Jalen Brunson is going to replace Melo in that top 5.
I agree with the 4, as you mentioned. I think it starts with Walt, Clyde Frazier. I think Earl to Pearl Monroe, Patrick Ewing, Bernard King. Again, no disrespect to Melo. I think Melo was a great player, but his stint with the Knicks was not great.
Yeah.
I think Brunson can knock Melo out of that spot, but I also think more importantly, we overlooked the contributions of Allen Houston. I think Allen Houston was a better Knick for what he did. He led us to an NBA Finals.
Yeah.
He had some playoff runs. So I would put Allen Houston above Melo as a Knick, not as an all-time player, as a Knick.
As an all-time player, Melo's I probably got Melo above pretty much everybody.
Yeah. I agree. I'm a big-time Melo fan.
I got to see with the Patrick Ewing versus Melo comparison. Maybe not Patrick Ewing, but as far as everybody else, just the overall, I would have Melo. We're just talking about NBA, but in the Knicks, that's how it would break down for me. How many years did Earl play in New York? Let me see. He was a multiple-time All-Star with them.
He was 9 years.
He was on that 73 championship. He was
nine seasons.
Yeah, so I think he was 3-time All-Star with the Knicks or 4 times with the Knicks.
I think he was a 4-time All-Star.
All-Star with the Knicks. He was All-NBA first team with the Knicks.
I can look it up real quick. He was a 3-time All-Star with the Knicks. He won a championship there in 73. Obviously, his number's retired. I'm trying to see. But 3-time All-Star with the Knicks.
Yeah, so there you go. So, yeah, you got to throw Earl Monroe up there. Thomas, we ain't get to the Clippers. We about to go to the Clippers now. Let me go to that question I saw up there about the Clippers. Let me go back.
He did, Thomas. He started with the Bullets, and then he was traded to the Knicks in 71.
Let me see. Where's the Dallas question I saw up here? Hold on. I'm getting to it, y'all. Hold on. Don't worry. Don't worry. I know I see the dang on Dallas question up here. Oh, here we go. Footballer scoop. How impressive have the Mavs been? Luca and Kyrie meshing well, but then pickups of PJ Washington and the other bigs from the Wizards. Then the rookie Lively is legit. Yeah, shout out to Derek Lively. That's another Blue Devil right there. He's been playing well. We know who Kyrie Irving is. We don't even gotta say. And I feel like Kyrie was kind of taking that Clipper series a little personal because I remember, back when Harden left Brooklyn, the rumblings out of that was Kyrie was busting James Harden ass in
Yeah.
practice, and that really like set the tone for him to get up out of there. So I felt like Kyrie was taking this series kind of personal. The shot that he hit the other night to close this thing out, Kyrie was doing everything, and because I gotta say, because as much love and praise as we give to Luca, you got to give Kyrie Irving just as much.
Kyrie's been amazing.
Yeah, hands down, the Dallas team. Not that I didn't think that they could beat the Clippers because I first of all once I seen Kawhi wasn't gonna play in game one, I said, "Oh, this thing is gonna be over." This thing, I think they're gonna do. They're gonna dominate this series. And again, guys get older now. Would Luca be able to do what he wanted to do against Toronto Raptors? Kawhi Leonard? Hell no. I don't think it would be it'd be like that. But again, guys get older. They're not. You know what I'm saying? This is not the same Kawhi, NBA champion Kawhi, defensive player of the year Kawhi. This ain't that Kawhi no more. Same thing with Paul George. These guys getting older. Westbrook is older. This is not MVP triple double Russell Westbrook. This is not MVP. I can put up 40 on you any night of the week. James Harden. This ain't that anymore. Them days is over for them guys. You got a lot of the new talent, younger talent, guys like Luca, who is one of the best players in basketball that are taking over, they're dominating, and that's what we saw in this series. We saw the 1-2 punch along with the role players in Dallas completely run the Clippers out of the gym.
Yeah, I believe you can run a tape back. There's one of the things I talked about, that the Mavs were a little more complete this time. In the past series against the Clippers, it was kind of Luka against the Clippers, but this time he had help. He had Kyrie, you got Gafford, you got Lively, you got PJ Washington. Don't forget Tim Hardaway Jr. So they got Derek Jones. I thought had a great series, offensively and defensively. Great defensively, on-ball defense, but then also his ability to knock down a corner three as well. Kyrie Irving, as Thomas said, might be playing the best basketball of his career, but it just looks like he's having fun. It looks like him and Luka have really created a bond on the court, and they kind of feed off one another. And when Luka ain't really got it going on, Kyrie takes over. And it's been great to see, because I think Dallas is a really talented team that can make a lot of noise. And this Oklahoma City series is going to be a great one to watch, because Dallas has more experience, and they may have more playmakers than OKC.
Yep. We're gonna start running through these comments because it's getting a little late. What's the deal with Harden and Paul George? We talk about choke artists. I mean, Harden, this ain't nothing new with Harden, so I don't want to act like this is a surprise, because we were talking about this back in Houston.
I was about to say, you could have pulled that comment in 2018 and it would still been relevant.
Yeah, Harden is I'll get you as far as the second round of the playoffs kind of guy, and that's been the story of his career. So I don't know about that one. Paul George is a little bit different, but listen, sometimes you just don't have it. I think those guys are past. Well, not I think I know that all of those guys are past their prime. Like it is what it is. Imani, let me see. Hold on, I ain't gonna forget. Come on, we can never forget about you, Imani. Way down, LOL, great show, good talk. Sorry, football, we pushing y'all down. We ain't even gonna get to do no football talk. I did see the comment up here. I'm just gonna shout it out real quick. Odell got that signed a 1-year deal with the Dolphins.
Mm-hmm.
Good for Odell. I'm always for players getting to the bag. Let me find Imani's other comment. Let me throw Imani's comment up here really quick, because we can't leave the Queens out. Hold up. All right. Talk about Anthony. Yep, we got to talk about Anthony Edwards anyway. That dude is and has been amazing, especially in the Suns series and game 1 versus the Nuggets. He has great personality. I can't say that next part of it, but Imani, if that's how you feel about it, that's fine. And his heart. Nuggets will adjust to him. But imagine you put Ant-Man's heart into Harden and PG. Um, and this is what I wanted to get to, and I mentioned it a little bit earlier in the program. Anthony Edwards has played himself into the number one spot as far as future face of the NBA. Once LeBron, Steph, and KD retire, he has played that well. He has been that dominant. You're right. He does have the personality. He's very likable. Um, and something that we spoke about in regards a couple of weeks ago when we talking about why Jason Tatum wouldn't be the face of the NBA. Anthony Edwards is one of them guys that's jumping out the gym. That'll put you on the short list of guys that are face of the NBA when you jumping out the gym and you dunking over cats with no regard to health, safety, none of that. That's what we're seeing from Anthony Edwards. We're seeing the jump shot. He done already been in the movie with Adam Sandler. You know what I'm saying? So he has the star power, and now you know it's a big deal to sweep Kevin Durant out of the playoffs. I don't care what
Is
round
it?
it's a big deal
Is
because
it?
you're talking about one of the all-time great players. That's a big deal for them. You telling me now they have a chance to go in and beat and knock off the defending champions? They definitely have a chance. This is going to be a very good series, and again, it's going to come back to I'm telling you to something that we spoke about earlier in the show. And when you're facing Denver and you got those athletic 7-footers that can play defense, Rudy Gobert probably being the best 7-foot defender that we've seen in the league in a while. Um, but yeah, Anthony Edwards, man, get that man his flowers. He is him.
Anthony Edwards has been phenomenal. I think him being the face of the league he's on the cusp of it. It's going to be his league right now. And shout out to I was going to mention it because Thomas mentioned it. The commercials, the exposure. You see, the league wants to kind of run with that idea, and I like it, especially for a team like Minnesota, who they've been searching for that since Kevin Garnett left there. So that to have that in such a young, charismatic guard, I like it. We'll see how this playoffs, how this all plays out. Not just these playoffs, but everything plays out because we felt that way. And not to say they're the same person. So I don't want this to get misinterpreted, but we felt that way 2 years ago about John Morant. We felt that way before the season about Luka, that Luka could be the face of the league. So that's a very, fluid conversation as far as who's going to be the face of the league. You got to win. As Trip and I's always said, if you want to be the face of the league, you got to win. You got to consistently win. You got to consistently be one of the last teams playing in May and June for you to be the face of the league. It just can't be a one-year thing. So right now they're hot. Kudos to them. I expect this to be a very competitive series. I wouldn't be shocked if they win the series, but let's see how it plays out.
Yep. Let's end the NBA segment with this question right here. Give me your series winners. Timberwolves, Nuggets, 76ers. Well, we know it's gonna be
Ron. The disrespect, Ron.
Yeah.
The disrespect.
70s. Why are we talking about 76ers? Knicks, Pacers, Thunder, Mavs, Celtics, Cavs. I'll tell you right now, I'm taking the Celtics over the Cavs. I don't know, but something tell me Dallas is gonna be OKC in this series. I'm taking Dallas in that series. I don't know why he got the Sixers up here. Stop disrespecting the Knicks like that. I'm taking the Knicks over the Pacers in dominating fashion, and I may be going against the grain here, but I'm taking the Minnesota Timberwolves over the Denver Nuggets. I said it. Go ahead, Eric. What you got?
Listen, I'm not mad at you about that. I think the Wolves have the personnel and the type of team that can give the Nuggets problems, but you got to still give respect to the champions. So I think Mike Malone will figure out a way. I think that series is going 7 though. So that's why I wasn't surprised by the game 1 loss. I think that series is going 7. I got the Nuggets in 7. I got the Knicks in 6, as I mentioned. Man, I you know how I feel about Shai Gilgeous. You know how I feel about the Thunder. But the Thunder have no interior presence. Their lone big man is Chet. And the Mavs can throw plenty of big bodies at Chet and protect the rim and then also have the rim runners. I like the Mavs in 5. I think they beat them in 5, Trip. And then I
picked them too, so I'm not even gonna go against the grain on that one.
And then I like the Celtics in 5 as well. But I wouldn't, again, The Nick one is the only one that I have a personal attachment to. If I'm wrong, I wouldn't care about being wrong about it.
Yeah.
You guys know Shea Gilgeous was my preseason MVP pick.
And
I
he
like
should
it.
be the MVP.
Right. And I love the Thunder team, but styles make fights. And when you're telling me that Chet is gonna have to deal with Lively, Gafford, PJ Washington all series, and then there's gonna be times he's gonna get caught on that island where it's either pick and roll and you caught up on Kyrie or pick and roll and caught up on Luca. That's a tough matchup for OKC. OKC got a lot of young gunners over there, but Dallas's team it's like almost a perfect matchup for Dallas.
Yeah. I'm just gonna post these 3 NFL comments, and then we're gonna get to Drake and Kendrick, because I seen Imani down at the bottom of the comments asking if we got to a chat. So just really quick, Eric, shout out to Kyrie, first in the chat, 646. Gotta love it, man. Shout out to y'all, man. Shout out to the supporters. We appreciate y'all. Expect Caleb to over or underachieve. I expect him to overachieve, because I mean, with them weapons that he's about to come into in Chicago, you better go in there and overachieve. Because if you come in there and stink up the joint, that's gonna be ugly. That's gonna be get real ugly real fast. But I think he will overachieve. I mean, when you got DJ Moore, you got Keenan Allen out there, like just those 2 guys alone. You know what I'm saying? You got DeAndre Swift coming off his best year. You got a tight end that's a touchdown machine in Komet. Yeah, I think he overachieves.
I think he overachieves as well, as you mentioned, the weapons, but also the division isn't that tough. Minnesota isn't that good of a team. Detroit is a good team. Packers are a good young team, but there's no juggernaut team in that division. So I expect Caleb to play well, take advantage of those weapons. I don't think there's ever been a number 1 pick in football anyway that has walked into this type of situation where you had this many weapons waiting for you. So Caleb, I think, will overachieve.
Exactly. Broncos GM on Bo Nix's age, more game ready. I mean, he could be more game ready, but when you ain't got nothing out there to help him out, I don't know how good him being game ready is going to be, because that Broncos offense was not anything special. Hasn't been for a little while, so I don't know, what that means. He's game ready.
I was gonna say, correct me if I'm wrong. If you're on the roster, shouldn't you be game ready? I would think everyone on the roster is game ready.
Yeah. So
talk to me when he's impact ready. Talk to me when he's like he's a franchise difference maker, because you don't draft a quarterback in the first round and then the terminology you use is he's more game ready. More game ready than who?
Yeah, I don't know.
Who is he more game ready than?
I don't know about that one. Kyrie McKnight says Zeke and Cowboys agree on a 1-year, $3 million deal. Consider this Dallas going all in. I consider this being the stupidity of the Dallas Cowboys. Once again, you let him walk for a reason. There was nothing that he did in New England that said, "Oh, Zeke is going to have a bounce back year this year. We should re-sign him and give him $3 million." Nothing at all said that. I don't know why you bringing this man back. I mean, other than sell some extra tickets, but you're America's team. You sell enough tickets as it is.
Correct me if I'm wrong. This is the only significant move Dallas made all season, all off season, right?
Yes, sir.
So how is that going all in? Also, correct me if I'm wrong. Derrick Henry, who's the best running back on the free agency board, said he wanted to go to Dallas, and Dallas never reached out to him. That to me would have been going all in.
Yeah.
Not bringing back a running back who
we got him in Baltimore now.
Absolutely. But also, correct me if I'm wrong, Trip. Shout out to Will Gordon, because we've had this conversation. We all said that Zeke was washed up 3 seasons ago. That's the reason why the Cowboys let him go and went with Tony Pollard. So now you bring Zeke back. There's no way you could tell me signing a guy on a 1-year, $3 million is considered all. If that's considered all in, then what is Miami doing? Because they signed OBJ for 1 year, $9 million.
Yeah,
that must be all in.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's not going all in. Cowboys just ain't got no money.
Yep. Last one, and then we're gonna get to Kendrick and Drake. Justin Frizione says, "What does this mean for Aaron Rodgers? Jets draft FSU QB Jordan Travis." It means nothing for Aaron Rodgers, because I mean, Aaron Rodgers is only with the Jets. He's only under contract for one more year, and then
Yeah.
even if he does stay, we're not talking about a first round talent quarterback. No disrespect to Jordan Travis, but that's not what we're talking about here. We didn't talk about them drafting one of the top 5 QBs in this year's draft. It just means that Aaron Rodgers is going to continue to be Aaron Rodgers, and this kid Jordan Travis is lucky enough to be able to learn behind one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play this game. And I think that's going to be a benefit to him. But outside of that, it really doesn't mean anything to Rodgers. He ain't being benched for Jordan Travis. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, it is what it is.
It means absolutely nothing because one, Jordan Travis was hurt late last season, so Jordan Travis probably won't even be ready for the start of training camp. Uh, if we keep in mind, that's why Florida State was held out of the playoffs because Jordan Travis gets hurt right before the playoffs, and everyone didn't think they had a chance to actually win it without him. So the injury he has was going to keep him out anyway to start the season. This wasn't a day one pick. This was, I believe, a 4th-round pick. This is more of a long-term project and seeing if you can develop a guy who has some talent and was good at Florida State. But when we talk about teams that are all in, the Jets are all in. The Jets have made moves this offseason to show that they are all in to win. And Aaron Rodgers, this is his show. Jordan Travis does absolutely nothing for them because if they have to play Jordan Travis, it'll look a lot like last year when they had to play Zach Wilson. Yeah. So it means nothing. If you get to the point where Jordan Travis is starting for you this year, it's already a bad season. This is more of a long-term project.
Exactly. Let me just check what that is. What's up, Lene? Yeah, we about to get to it now. We're gonna finish.
We're gonna wrap up the show on that. Yep.
I just lost. Okay, here we go. Wait, did I go past it again? Where's Pooh's comment? Here we go, right here. All right. Pooh, Trip and Eric at the end of the show. I want you all to rank Kendrick versus Drake songs in order. There's been so many disses put out since we've been on, so dive into it at the end of the show. First of all, shout out to both of them. Shout out to Drake and to Kendrick. Let me just say this before I even get into this comment. The fans are winning. That's who's up. I think the fans is up 30 nothing right now because we have got guys rapping again. You got everybody from Kendrick to Future to Cole to Drake to Ross to Simba to Kanye, even though I felt like he's being an attention whore. But you got yeah, you know what I'm saying? But you got everybody active, and I love it for hip hop. As far as who's up, I mean, first of all, Kendrick just dropped like 5 songs in a day, 5 diss tracks in a day. So it's gonna be hard to compare because Drake hasn't dropped that many tracks. But if I had to rank them, I would say Drake's Drop and Give Me 50 and this last track that Kendrick just dropped last
Not
night.
Like Us. Not Like Us.
Those are the best 2 out of all of them. As far as who's up, I honestly I'm gonna say it's even right now. Kendrick just has more tracks out than Drake, but that Drop and Give Me 50 hit hard. Kendrick's last joint was crazy. I'm just waiting for another Drake response. The reason why I'm gonna say it's even is because Kendrick took so long to respond, even though he's dropping after back to back like this. But I still think, you know what I'm saying, that, you should have dropped sooner, 1 and 2. It's like 1 on 10 right now. It's like Drake versus the world. So
I mean, as far as that, I don't really care like who it all is against. Like, whatever enemies you make is the enemies you got to deal with. That is what it is.
Yeah.
I think Kendrick is clearly up at this point. It's getting super personal, and it's getting to a point. Obviously, when Kendrick makes a song talking to your whole family, and basically apologizing to your family for your bullshit behavior, part of my language. Mm-hmm. Like that's one of the ultimate signs of disrespect. And then if we find out that these allegations are true, and I'm not just talking about Drake having a daughter, a secret daughter, but if these allegations about him being a pedophile and him being involved with underage girls are true, like that to me is like the ultimate death blow. Yeah. No matter how you feel about Drake, you got to call it what it is. Drake is a global icon. To a lot of women, Drake is viewed as a sex symbol. And if any of these allegations are true, and it seems like Kendrick has been very calculated in everything he's saying,
Mhm.
but if any of those allegations, like that could be, when we talk about like the end of somebody's rap career,
No, that's a
that
definite.
could, yeah, that could be the end of Drake's everything if any of those allegations are true. So for me, I got Kendrick up right now. I think the push-up song that you're talking about from Drake is catchy, but that's what we expected because that's what he does anytime he's beefing with somebody. He tries to put out a catchy song that will continue to play in circulation as a way to like win the battle. Because again, if my song is consistently being played,
Yeah,
then
that's
right.
back to back came out being nominated for a Grammy.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Longevity can win me the battle now because this song gets played all the time. But
Yeah,
I just think, like I said, Meet the Grams, Not Like Us, like the things that Kendrick is talking about on there, even the Euphoria track, but the things he's talking about on there, if them things is true, bro,
yeah,
like that takes the battle to a whole different level that we've never seen within the culture before. And to me, I think Kendrick is up right now.
yeah. And I think when it's tough because, and this is because I know somebody. Shout out to Lene. She's talking about Cole bowed out early,
Mhm.
and that part of the thing is with Cole is if we cool like that, I can't get that. I can't get that personal with somebody I'm cool with because now you see where this thing is going because they don't both took shots at each other's character and whatnot, and they're going deeper and deeper with every track. So you know what I mean. So,
And
go ahead.
listen, the on the Not Like Us, right? The fact that Kendrick then takes it to Drake's level where it's like, all right, now I'm gonna make a catchy song too. And that
Yeah,
little
yeah,
snippet of did I strike a chord or you just an A minor, that's always gonna get played over and over.
yeah,
But bro, the Atlanta scheme that he uses on that second verse is so mean, where he
yeah.
calls him a colonizer. And if you listen to the breakdown of that verse, that is one of the illest schemes that you'll ever hear on any song, let alone a battle track.
That's his. That's his. Out of all the ones he dropped, that's the best one. Thomas Dem says in rap isn't anything goes. I think Drake is a petty. Well, I'm not gonna comment on whether or not he's.
Yeah, I don't.
I don't.
That's
We don't do that because I haven't seen no proof of that. So I'm not gonna put that. I don't put that on nobody's any type of sexual
right.
offenses. Like you got to show me proof before I just start running with that narrative. But yeah, it is anything goes in rap battles. So my only issue is the only thing I have a problem with is the Kendrick fans that try to say, "Yo, man, y'all gotta look in deep. Y'all don't know what he's saying because you gotta break this down." Like, first of all, we from New York. We all about the lyrics, so we know how to break things down. And on the diss track, you don't gotta be super OG triple entendres and all of that because when we talking about the best diss tracks of all times, and nobody was going that deep and analytical in it, the most known diss track of all time. The reason why I was so big because Pac said first off, F your
Right.
like you know what I'm saying. So it's not about you don't got to be super deep on a diss track. You
You
just got to be super disrespectful. That's,
right. You
that's
could
really what it comes down
excuse
to.
me. You can be lyrical without turning into what like you're talking about with where Kendrick fans. But I think if you the thing with the Kendrick setup is that really when you go back, all of them lead into something else. Because even if you listen to Euphoria, there are a couple schemes where he sets up and he says, "But we'll get back to that later," which then lead to other parts of tracks and other songs.
Mhm.
So like he's setting up this grand scheme of things of unveiling and pulling back the layers of Drake
Yes.
that the average fan doesn't know. So to me, that's what makes it dope. That's what makes it dope. That he really took the time to like, I'm gonna lay out the body of work. I'm gonna lay out all the evidence for you.
Hmm.
And when it's all said and done, there will be nothing left of this man for you to ever, acknowledge or be happy for.
Yeah.
So to me, he's winning the battle. And like you said, you don't have to because I think when Pusha T put out his release of Drake, it was lyrical, but it wasn't like super lyrical. He got straight to the
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? Like it was he had punchlines, but he got straight to the point where you knew exactly what he was talking about. Kendrick is kind of giving you, like you said, the double and triple entendres where you got to listen to it a couple times. That's why I say listen to that Atlanta scheme or Not Like Us. which is dope. But it also mattered what you like, because I told you too. I thought Ross's diss track for Drake was solid too. It wasn't on a beat that was catchy.
I forgot who it was that said. I think it was Joel's. Matter of fact, shout out to Joel.
Joel Santana said that. Yeah,
he said Ross's diss track he felt was better than everything Kendrick put out.
I think Ross's diss track was very good. It's just that the production, like the beat, wasn't super catchy. It was a true hip hop beat,
but
lyrically it was dope.
Yeah,
and real talk, some of the shit that Ross was saying is what Kendrick kind of used too.
And to his advantage. So, do y'all think it's beef outside of the booth? They walk by each other, someone swinging. I mean, if it's them too, I don't think so. If Kendrick is like 5 feet tall, so I don't know about that. Now, will Entourage get into it? It's a possibility. They both tied to some real big, dudes. So
I don't.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you got.
I don't think Drake is swinging on anybody, because if the rumors is true, didn't Puff piss on his leg?
Yeah, so I don't know about
Drake. Right, he's not swinging on nobody.
But Entourage is maybe, Kendrick is in the West, a lot of gang ties out there. But then you got mob ties with Drake. You also got Birdman in them, and Birdman ain't one of them,
right?
Somebody that you want to play with either. You know what I'm saying? Like, Cat's got. So yeah, it's possible. Especially, see, what happens is once you take it to a level where you're getting personal and y'all talking about each other's families and children and that type of stuff, anything is possible, man. Shoot. Honestly, see, when we're talking about Big and Pac going back and forth, Big never even put out a diss track, versus Pac, and we saw how that turned out. You know what I'm saying? So now when you're talking about two cats that's going back and forth, talking about involving each other's families in these tracks and whatnot, and talking about different things, you call somebody a pedophile, that could spill into some stuff outside of the music. So, you always want to be conscious of that. I would love for us. I want us to keep it rap, because again, the fans are winning right now. If we can do that, then that's fine. But there's always that possibility, because you have the people outside of the artist. Do I think Drake or Kendrick are going to be out here taking penitentiary chances? Absolutely not. We're talking about two superstars. But dudes that be around them, anything goes. So let me throw this up. Top 5, Eric, top 5 best diss tracks ever. Obviously I just named one of them. Hit them up. Is 1. Takeover is 2. Ether is 3. No Vaseline, I'm gonna say is 4. And I'm gonna say, you know what? I'm gonna say Wankster.
I like all them joints. I will put Pusha T's joint up there.
There's a lot you can add to the list,
because Pusha T's, like I said, Pusha T's was one of the, like, Hit 'Em Up was very personal. No Vaseline was very personal. Ether and Takeover were more like lyrical jabs at each other. But I thought Pusha T's was like one of the first ones that got like super personal, where it involved your family.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I said, you are hiding a child. Like he exposed things. Yeah, he exposed certain things that normally in a rap battle would not be discussed. And I remember when I first heard it, and a lot of people's reaction was like shock, like that he took it to that level. But I agree with Pusha T. Is if it's war, it's war. It is what it is. So to me, I would always put that in that top 5. Let
me add one more, because I can't disrespect the OGs. The Bridge Is Over is I gotta find a way to fit.
KRS-One. Yeah, that might be.
That was the diss track for like 20 years.
So that got to be in the conversation. That got to be in the conversation too, because that shut down the whole Queensbridge movement at the time. MC Shammin' was the hottest thing in rap, and The Bridge Is Over shut down all of that.
Yeah, so I gotta put
similar to what 50 did to Ja Rule. Like, it shut down all of that.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Even with 50, like, there's a collective of diss tracks like that I could put into, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The Joe you talking about Thomas as well. LL dissing
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, no. Cannabis.
Yeah. Yeah, when he dissed him on 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, because that wasn't it.
Yeah.
Like, zoom.
No.
It was like 99% of your fans don't exist.
And Cannabis actually killed him with the joint, but again, it was popularity contest.
Yeah.
LL was way more popular. So there was
Cannabis definitely won that battle.
he easily won that battle, but nobody, again, he was still an underground artist, so people didn't know who he
Yeah,
was. If that battle took place today, it would be a completely different outcome. People would look at it differently. But at that time, you had to be on the radio, you had to be having your videos getting played. So cannabis didn't have any of that. So if you were outside of New York, you didn't know who the dude was.
yeah, and I think at that point, LL probably was looked at as if not the GOAT, or at least one of them
Yeah, he
at
was.
that time. You know what I'm saying? So that having that legendary status going against somebody who's relatively unknown, you know what
Right.
I mean, is kind of you're already going to be at disadvantage. But he still won.
Yeah.
He definitely still won that battle. I just want one last thing I want to address. Shout out to Simba. But he made a comment that I did not agree with, and I wanted to address this. He said the best diss tracks come from West Coast artists. And I'm just like, hold up, bro. We started that thing on this side over here on the East Coast. Like what we talking about here for one of the diss tracks that y'all get, a lot of the credit for is from somebody who's actually from New York, and that's Hit 'Em Up. And that's
Right.
one of the biggest diss tracks of all time. So, you know what I'm saying? Realistically, we basing this off of, off of NWA and Death Row going back and forth. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because you got to cancel Pac out. He don't count. He from New York. He was raised on the East Coast. So, you know what I'm saying? Like you can't that's a little bit different. And we talking about some of the best, you know, cats putting out disc records. When you look at 50, you look at Jadakiss, you look at Beanie Siegel, Nas, Hove, like these guys that have put out some of the most memorable KRS-One, you know what I'm saying, diss tracks of all time. So I think the East Coast definitely got it on lock. Shout out to Will. What it do, baby? We're not sleeping on Dre Day. Dre Day is up there, but we just said top five. That's all, man. You know what I'm saying? But listen, guys, we appreciate y'all so much. Thank you guys for always being supporting, dropping them comments. We try to get to everybody's comments every week. We're gonna be back on our Sunday rotation moving forward. We're gonna be back at the Garden soon. Bruce Carrington is back in the ring, so we're gonna be going out for that. Eric, just give us a final thought.
As always, man, appreciate all the supporters, man. Keep rocking with us, and we're looking forward to continuing these conversations with you guys week in, week out.
Yes, sir. Make sure you guys are following us on all our social media: Instagram, Twitter at Real Fan Talk, Facebook.com/Real Fans Real Talk. And of course, if you're not in New York City and you can't watch us on Verizon 43 on Thursday nights from 8 to 9 p.m., don't worry. All you got to do is go to that website, realfansrealtalk.com, and you can watch from anywhere in the world. Just click that red button on the homepage. Also, subscribe to that YouTube channel, man, youtube.com/, For the Fans Productions. And if you're not already, I know most of y'all are. Make sure y'all subscribe to the both the Sanchez Show and the Real Fans Real Talk podcast. It's like a comment that came in. I don't know what's going on. DB, whatever you're saying. I can't really. It's just like an emoji up there, so I can't really tell what you was trying to say. But whatever. Shout out to DB. With that being said, though, we will be. Shout out to Canelo Alvarez. He got a big win this week. Hopefully, he fights Benavidez or Crawford next. I wouldn't mind either one of those fights. Big shout out to him. Also, big shout out. We got to take a minute to shout out and show some love. And we're going to go in depth on this one next week since we didn't get to this week. Shout out to Candace Parker, one of the greatest to ever do it in basketball, period, not just women's basketball. She just recently announced her retirement. So big shout out to Candace Parker on that. And shout out to the WNBA as a whole because ticket sales are up 93% this season. And that is, I got to contribute a lot of that to this incoming rookie class led by Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. And I can definitely say this is true because I already was on the phone with the plug over at the Barclays Center, and he told me all the courtside tickets was already sold out because I wanted to see Angel Reese when she comes to Brooklyn and plays the Liberty. All right, so big shout out to the ladies. Balling for Peace is going down June 15th, the celebrity basketball game. We will be sponsoring the dunk contest again. We're going to get more into Balling for Peace as the weeks come. We'll start making a few more announcements with that. But with that being said, again, big shout out to you guys. Thank you so much. Y'all keep us so motivated every week. For myself, Trip Young, my brother, my co-host, Eric Sanchez, aka Legend in 2 Games. We up out of here. Peace.